Good morning, Europe. It's Tuesday, the 18th of January. Thank you for choosing to start your day with us. Let's start by looking at our top stories.
Russia plans joint military exercises in Belarus in a move that will increase tensions with the West over Ukraine. Ukraine's former president Petro Poroshenko returns to Kiev, vowing to help protect the ex-Soviet country from a possible Russian invasion. And a new book reveals who it claims is most likely to have betrayed Jewish teenage diarist Anne Frank and her family. Russia has begun moving troops to Ukraine's northern neighbour Belarus for joint military exercises, a move that further strains relations with the West. The EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs, Josep Borrell, warned on Monday that Russia is seeking the de facto integration of eastern Ukraine into its territory through its massive military build-up from Crimea to Donbass. Visiting Ukraine, Germany's foreign minister said they're ready for serious dialogue with Russia, but will not compromise on basic principles. She's due to meet with her Russian counterpart on Tuesday. We'll do everything to guarantee Ukraine's security, and we'll do everything to guarantee Europe's security. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has rejected US allegations that Moscow is preparing a pretext to invade Ukraine, dismissing the claim as total disinformation. No doubt that Ukraine today is under the external control of the United States. A delegation of US senators is visiting Ukraine to emphasize Washington's support for the country and has threatened to impose crippling economic sanctions if Russia invades.
Ukraine's former president Petro Poroshenko has returned to Kiev from Warsaw to fight charges of high treason. Prosecutors have set bail at €30 million. Poroshenko addressed supporters who were outside the court. He told them he had returned to help protect his country from a possible Russian invasion, despite the risk of arrest. The charges come amid heightened tensions with Russia over its troop build-up along Ukraine's eastern border. Peter Dickinson is the Ukraine editor of the international affairs think tank The Atlantic Council. He says that the prosecution could have major political ramifications.
The charges are potentially explosive for Ukraine's democracy. I think it's crucial to underline here that Petro Poroshenko is not only Ukraine's former president, he's also the chief rival to the current president, Volodymyr Zelensky. So the prosecution is seen by many as an attempt by Zelensky to discredit his main rival, to undermine him, and in particular to tar him with the brush of treason. You know, obviously the most explosive charge that could be leveled against any head of state, really. And Poroshenko's great strength is seen as a patriotic leader who led Ukraine through the very difficult first years of the conflict with Russia from 2014. So the idea of now labeling him as a traitor, essentially, is potentially very damaging for him, but also the political nature of the charges and of the case in general casts quite a shadow over Ukraine's credentials. We're talking about a split between the two leading figures in Ukrainian politics, potentially very polarizing. If the prosecution proceeds, and if, for example, Poroshenko is convicted, or even if he's held in detention, it will create enormous tension at a time when Ukraine's national unity is crucial. We have approximately 100 to maybe more Russian troops along the border. Reports are coming in on an almost hourly basis of increasing build-ups of new Russian formations reaching the border area. The rhetoric coming from Russia is alarming, to say the least. At this stage, Ukraine's security situation is on a knife edge, and arguably the last thing the country needs is to have a major political crisis. So a lot of people in Kiev are questioning exactly why President Zelensky feels that now is a good time to take on this issue.
New record high COVID-19 infections in Russia are raising fears of a storm of cases in coming weeks. The authorities are blaming the highly contagious Omicron strain and say it's too early to relax. On whether the Omicron variant will herald a shift from COVID-19 pandemic to endemic, the top medical advisor to the US President, Anthony Fauci, said it's too early to say.
It is an open question as to whether or not Omicron is going to be the live virus vaccination that everyone is hoping for, because you have such a great deal of variability with new variants emerging.
The pandemic was one of the main topics at the World Economic Forum's virtual Davos conference, where UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged business leaders to focus on vaccinating everybody against COVID-19.
The last 2 years have demonstrated a simple but brutal truth. If we leave anyone behind, in the end, we leave everyone behind. If we fail to vaccinate every person, we give rise to new variants that spread across borders and bring daily life and economies to a grinding halt.
Vaccination is becoming increasingly imperative in Europe, with Greece the latest country to require everyone to get the shot. People over the age of 60 who fail to get vaccinated will face monthly fines.
Novak Djokovic received a warm welcome when he returned to Serbia after Australia deported the world men's tennis #1. Djokovic, who is unvaccinated, left after his visa was cancelled on public interest grounds. Only fully vaccinated non-Australian travellers are allowed to enter the country. The 34-year-old had won 9 previous Australian Opens, and many Serbians were outraged by the Australian government's decision.
I'm so sorry about Nole, and I hope so that he played tennis on other tournaments, on Grand Slams like Roland Garros, and we send him all our love and positive energy.
I don't know his next steps. I hope that he will find a way to play at the other tournaments while having his freedom of choice to take the vaccine or not.
Now the question that's hanging over Djokovic is whether he will be allowed into future tournaments.
With this whole ordeal slowly coming to an end, the Serbian public is most interested in 2 things. One is Novak's next steps. Is he going to stay in Serbia and train or go to Spain? And second, what happens in the next tournaments? We already heard the news that Roland Garros organizers are considering excluding unvaccinated players, so everybody is eager to hear whether the problems for Novak are going to continue. From Belgrade for Euronews, Bojan Brkić.
In another twist in the story of Anne Frank, the hiding place of the young Jewish writer who lived in a secret annex for 2 years during World War II was leaked to the Nazis by a Jewish notary. That's according to an investigative team who say a letter from Otto Frank, Anne's father, suggests Arno van den Berg exposed the family to guarantee his safety and his daughter's.
We have been able to determine that this letter was written on Otto Frank's typewriter. It was most likely written in 1957. We were able to assess this after comparing it to other letters he sent around that time.
Anne and her family were discovered above a canal-side warehouse in Amsterdam in 1944. Documentary filmmaker Thijs Bayens first came up with the idea 6 years ago, when it was still a cold case.
This is actually a new theory assuming betrayal. We knew about the letter, but it was never properly researched. This team did, and in that sense, it is a new breakthrough regarding theories that Anne was betrayed. So we will have to research this further.
The teenager, whose diary later became an international bestseller, was sent to a series of concentration camps before dying of typhus in 1945.